welcome. We are live. We are here. Another episode of our Footy Fantasy podcast. I think I titled this episode "Who Really Won the Transfer Window." Uh, before I jump in, before I introduce guests, you can see if you like our content, don't forget to subscribe, share, like Footy Fantasy, FWTIE Fantasy on all our social channels. Um, let's introduce our guest. We'll start with the Newcastle man. It's hard for us to get one. So Raji, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, and it's a very eventful weekend for me to join. The weekend where Manchester finally jumps over Newcastle, and I'm sure Oga Kwame will have something to say about that. But I'm glad to be here.
Nah, bro, I ain't got nothing to say. I'm just looking at your shirt out here looking like a zebra. But big up to you, bro.
See, this is the conversation. This is how it's going to devolve. Let's go.
I'm just saying, if anybody's jumping, it's you out there looking like a zebra. Black and white FC.
Hey, Oga has already introduced himself. It's a good weekend for us, the Manchester folks, everybody, literally everybody in top four, and every other top six club apart from the Spurs. We don't really care about Spurs, but every other top six Spurs, they all drop points. So yeah, it's a good weekend for us. The red side of Manchester. How have you been, Oga Kwame?
Bro, I've been good, man. I've been chilling. It's been a good weekend. Yeah, I can't wait to dive into these topics, but glad to be here.
Last but not the least, since we're expecting one more person if she joins, size load like he calls himself, Mr. Dada. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having
me. The man from Chelsea. Okay. Let's just dive right in. So let me set the tone for this one. From a Footy Fantasy perspective, I want to set the tone because this is a serious to us at Footy Fantasy. So and me personally, let me speak for myself. Before we go into this, people in the comments, if you're going to comment, if you're watching this, even us on the, let's try to understand that it's a serious topic. People suffer from abuse, specifically physical abuse, and I will try to lead with facts first before we can dive into their opinions, right? And the fact CPS announced a couple of days ago that they had dropped all charges for Mason Greenwood. I think it was first charged last October. Correct me if I'm wrong, Oga Kwame. Last October is when it was charged, and he was taken out of the team.
2021.
But now this is 2021. Sorry, yes, 2020 October was when he had the charges. Over a year, the case has been ongoing. They said they've dropped all charges. Manchester United announced some days later that they were going to begin their own investigations, and that's where everything is at the moment. So I'm not posing it to everyone in the comments on here. Do you think Greenwood should be allowed to return to Manchester United? Oga Kwame, you kick it off for us. What are your thoughts?
So first of all, yes, as you rightly said, this is a very sensitive topic. And if I describe something in a way that, somebody might find a little bit insensitive, it's not because I intend to sound insensitive. It's just that I'm trying to explain what happens in real life, especially when it comes to issues of criminal, nature. So let's if we just cast our minds back to when this whole thing started, the alleged victim in this case, let's remember that she did not actually present evidence to the police, right? She did not go to the police with the tape. She did not go to the police with the pictures and bruises or whatever. The police found out about the tape and the pictures just like the whole world did, right? Online, I think it was Twitter or Instagram or whatever. And this is just in an attempt to explain how it's possible for the Crown Prosecution Service to do what they did, right? And for a very small part of my life, I was a public defender. I did a lot of domestic violence cases where victims would, the husbands would be beating them up at home, living boyfriend, husband, whatever, beating them up at home, bruises, everything. They call the police. Police shows up. Of course, becomes a criminal matter. When it's time to go to trial, they've reconciled. They've moved back into the home. They're raising their family, or whatever. And now they decline. The victim declines to continue with the case. In cases like that, I mean, and if you guys might know prosecutors out there, ask them. I mean, 9 times out of 10, if that happens, case is not going anywhere. It's impossible to move forward. And the reason that is is because when we think of the duty of prosecutors, when we think of the duty of criminal investigators, their job is to provide evidence to sustain conviction, to sustain a conviction. To get a conviction, you have to provide proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That is the highest standard of proof in our criminal justice system. And the UK, just like the United States, is a common law jurisdiction, which means if you can't provide proof beyond a reasonable doubt, there is no conviction. In a civil case, so if I owe that money, for example, borrows me $5,000, we write a contract. I have to pay you back in a month. I don't pay back. He sues me. When we get to court, he only has to provide, just 50 plus 1 level of proof. Pretty much, is it more likely than not that Oga Kwame did not give Dada his money? Then I'm civilly liable. In the criminal justice system, it's way more than that. So when these investigators are doing their work, right, from what they said, they're pretty much telling us that, look, with the evidence we have right now, with the situation the way it is right now, with the facts we have right now, we cannot go to court, right, with an expectation to provide proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And that is why we're not moving forward with this case. That is not to be confused with the possible conclusion that Mason Greenwood might be liable in another sense. Maybe not criminally, but maybe civilly. And that is why my conclusion has to be that, look, when Manchester United conducts the investigation that they do plan to conduct, they don't have, of course, their duty is not to find proof beyond a reasonable doubt. They just need to find proof. It's going to be an administrative proceeding or administrative investigation. It's an internal investigation. They don't need to provide any kind of proof to a jury. They don't need to meet any criminal standard of proof. They just need to answer the question, did it happen? And if United reaches the conclusion that it did happen, it should not play for the club again. Point blank, period. And I understand that, and this is not to judge people who have reached conclusions in the alternative, but the fact is, I know my club has had a history of tolerating, this kind of abuse. Look, Ronaldo continued to play for us. He even came back and played for us. Ryan Giggs, the club still continues to have a friendly relationship with people like Ryan Giggs. It has to come to a stop at some point. And our club has to reflect positive moral values in society. Look, I'm not over here waving the "I'm holier than thou" flag, but it's about trying. It's about trying. And in the past, I have not seen my club try. I've not seen them try hard to distance themselves from these from these issues that just reflect the worst of our society.
Okay. Well said. Very well said. I'll just add to it. Very simple, because most people know I've stayed clear for conversations like this for a very long time. Specifically, Oga Kwame will know, probably Dada knows a little bit. From the Ronaldo time, just because of how I saw a lot of Manchester United fans act. Most people did not even read they didn't even read the what was it called, the transcript from the Despiegel report.
From deposition, yeah.
Never read it, and they just went on like, Ayo, you're very biased. And since then, I just made very strong conclusions about how people really, kind of mostly don't care about these things. They don't really care. So, but to add to what Ogwakame said, my point is, if you're Manchester United and you've said you care about diversity and inclusion for so long, you started this image campaign 3-4 years ago, before the pandemic, cases with the severe level of evidence, right? And just like you said, I don't know if it's guilty or not, but the severe level of evidence, You just, in my opinion, have to just stay clear and just let Greenwood go. If he wants to go rebuild his career somewhere else, another club. I mean, I wish he finds help, whatever help he needs, either or both of them. But from a footballing standpoint, I don't think Greenwood should play for Manchester United again. Those are my thoughts. Anybody wants to jump in? Tada, maybe.
No, I mean, I think between the both of y'all, man, I think y'all hit the hammer on the nail very well. Yeah, as you said, I think clubs for a while they don't take a hard stance on issues like this because if you look at missing Greenwood, there are a lot of people who depend on his income, right? So him working, him being a free man, is not just him being a free man. He puts the food on the table for a lot of people. And I can see a situation whereby folks will turn a blind eye to the things he has done because they have a vested interest in that, right? I mean,
Uh-huh.
Missing Greenwood brings in, I don't know how much he was earning, 100 grand a week, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Out of 100 grand a week, 30% will go to managers, agents, and other people. And you
Uh-huh.
write that up annually with endorsement, that is significant income, right?
Uh-huh.
So everyone does have a price morally, and maybe some people just say, well, even though he has done this, it's 20 grand a month or 20, 30 grand a month that I'm getting outweighs the moral stance that he should take. And I think clubs have done that many years when it comes to racism, domestic abuse. I mean, even in the United States, we suffer the same issue where NFL players will come out. And let's not be naive here. A lot of these clubs, they know these things. People talk in the
Uh-huh.
locker room. They know. They just turn a blind eye until it comes out publicly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And once it comes out publicly, it's no longer a moral decision. It becomes economic. And let's be honest here, United will make an economic decision, not a moral decision. And I think, and I try as much as possible because when it comes to the moral stance of these things, it gets very um, gray. People bring in their own personal experience and their own personal biases into the situation. Uh, but from an economic perspective, you cannot argue that missing Greenwood is bad business. So United needs to stay away from that. And I'm very, very sure their investigation is going to come out and say you are going to stay away from Mason Greenwood. But part of me do hope that maybe long term, rather than just putting issues like this into a spreadsheet, we can maybe tackle it from an ethical and moral perspective. And also too, I mean, not just to make this a long-winded thing. A lot of these young men need help, right? Like they come from very very troubled backgrounds, right? And football clubs should do a much better job. The NBA has done this very very well. Like a lot of young players go through a lot of training just to like help them, unpack some of their emotional baggages. And a lot of these football players don't. So you have a young man who and I don't know Mason Greenwood's background. I'm not going to speak to that. I'm making a massive generalization here. You have a lot of these young men who have traumatic past, and you give them a lot of money, and you give them a sense of entitlement, and they do things like this because they feel like they're invisible, right? So he should not play for United. There's a bigger issue at play here, and I don't think it's ever going to be solved because when money is involved, we just become so morally loose. And even me myself, I see some situations whereby some players who may be fan of my club will do on a blind eye because you have something to gain from it. Uh, yeah, I think football just needs to look itself in the mirror and say, man, we need to do better about things like this because they knew about missing Greenwood. This has probably happened before. They probably
Yeah.
turned the blind eye because I mean it was scoring goals and it was doing well. So
Mm.
no, it should not return to United. And there's a larger, more controversial question at play here. But I think between you and I, you guys give a perfect response.
I'll just buttress a couple of points you guys made, and just say that the fact that Manchester United players are the ones saying they don't want him in the dressing room is significant.
Yes.
I think that is an indication of the underlying point that Dada is making. They probably know that he's done worse than this, and that's not been made public.
Mhm.
But I also feel like clubs make decisions and turn a blind eye morally if they need the financial gain, if they feel like the rewards of doing that would help significantly in their financial gain. And one situation was Kurt Zuma, who was filmed, kicking the cat. and he still played that weekend, despite the fact that the crowd didn't want him to play and all of those stuff. Clubs will make decisions based on themselves on their financial gain, and I think in this scenario they feel like the risk is not worth having him play in the squad. If this was Ronaldo at his prime, I'm pretty sure they would make a different decision. And that is a reflection of the hypocrisy that this player is going to have to deal with. But on a firm moral grounding, there's an argument that should be made that this he shouldn't play for Manchester United again. But should he ever play for another club? That's a conversation that we probably will need to have in the future. And ultimately, I think that he's going to end up somewhere else. So yeah, that's.
I agree. I agree. I think he will. I think he will end up somewhere else, and I actually think it's easier for another club to snap him up, and for that club to just go like, look, whatever he did, it's in the past. It's easier for another club to give him a what do they call it? A new beginning or whatever, or fresh. Yeah, Manchester United cannot give him a fresh start because it's not fresh at Manchester United. He can go to somewhere maybe in Turkey or wherever he wants to play, and they can give him a fresh start. But certainly he can't get that at Manchester.
Okay. Now that we're the serious stuff out of the way, let's jump into what I called who actually won the transfer window. Let's talk about transfer window. We didn't have the time to talk about do deadline day on Wednesday. Everybody's just caught up in their lives. So we'll do a mini deadline day review. We'll start with best signing. Let's go to Raji. I feel like Raji feels like the one that's done like full data research. Like he was giving me some facts earlier.
Raji probably got a spreadsheet in front of him.
You're on mute though, Raji. So yes, tell us who is your best signing.
I really can't say who the best signing is. I think that
let's project.
We can look into like significant signings and how they could affect teams. Okay. I do think that Chelsea has made a significant amount of signings to improve their squad. It's both a winner and a loser. I think one of the conversations you always have with Chelsea fans is the midfield is not strong. The midfield is not strong. And I think that they've addressed a lot of that in this. They signed Mikhail Mudryk as a left midfielder. They've brought in some strong defensive midfielders like Enzo Fernandez. All these players are great, but I think that they also fall into the losers category too for me. They're both winners and losers. Enzo Fernandez was bought for 10 million. He was sold for 106.8 million. That's more than 10 times his value. I don't know if that is actually worth it. But like I said, I don't know who's going to be the best signing. I have feelings about Anthony Gordon joining Newcastle. I thought that could be a very good signing going forward, especially given the fact that Alan Saint-Maximin, who is a confidence player, is not playing very well. And the glimpses we saw of Anthony Gordon showed that he's a real class player. But yeah, I would say that in terms of teams, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Bournemouth are probably the strongest. And I have losers in Chelsea, Everton, Man City, and Liverpool. So I can go into more detail about the losers. I think I've given an indication about Chelsea. I think Liverpool not signing a midfielder to improve their midfield, which is one of the the blind spots that we have for Chelsea is incredible. Everton getting 45 million and not being able to sign any player for their team is horrible. And Liverpool and Man City, the loss of Cancelo, I think you could actually feel it in this game that we just watched. So yeah, that's just my summary.
Okay. Comments. Let me take comments. This was even before the pod starts. Okay, Arsenal fans think they will win the league. He likes to rattle Arsenal fans. Okay, fine. Wait, it just says size Lord. Yeah, Chelsea fan. Hailing on that Chelsea fan, I guess. Johannes says, well said, Oga Kwame. This person, please put your name beside the comment. Your comments are coming from Facebook. I don't know who this is.
Let me answer that question. Let me just address that real quick. This might be Joanno because I'm just guessing it's him. The reason I say he cannot have a fresh start at Manchester United is that if for any reason United resurrects his contract, or if they choose to renew his contract, which I think currently ends in 2025, he's still he went from United to United. That there's nothing fresh about that. The reason he can have another fresh start, the reason he can have a fresh start at another place. I'm not saying he deserves the fresh start at another place. Don't conflate my conclusion. I'm not saying he should have a fresh start at another place. I'm saying if another club signs him, they can more likely make the case for a fresh start than Manchester United can. So if he goes to, if say in 2026 now, after how many years of being out of football, he goes and signs for Al Nassr with Ronaldo, they can give him a fresh start. But if in that same time period he comes back to United, it's still not a fresh start, regardless of what it may look like. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, good point.
Joanno's saying that's not him. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who, I don't know.
It's I didn't even talk about that. Today we're going to try to do a call-in show for like 1 or 2 people. Not take too much time. So if you're watching, if you want to call in, if you're in the comments, just post that you want to call in, and I will have Oga Kwame. I just sent you the link text message. I will go and just go on the thing and post the link to the person. Either you post it, if it's through Facebook, you just post it in the chat, that's pinned on the group. If it's through YouTube, just comment after it. It'll come up. Either or. Got it. Dara. Who do you think is the best signing?
Man, so the thing about best signing is,
you can do it at the same time if you want. Out best signing, biggest surprise transfer. If you want to address
I think I can say kind of like some of the best signings. And I think Jorginho to Arsenal is a decent deal. It's just one of those players that he has Premiership experience. He can really get them through the finish line. He doesn't want to play 90 minutes. So I think people are joking about Jorginho, but I think that might actually work out for Arsenal considering where they are in the season. I think Chelsea to Enzo is Enzo to Chelsea is a fantastic deal. And I'm not just saying that as a Chelsea fan, because that's what we really, really, really need. I don't argue about transfer values. I think I'm going to say 2 things, and I probably wouldn't delve into that today. Number one, the current state of football is not a sustainable business model. So everything that we do in football is not sustainable long term. Second of all, valuations of players is very arbitrary. Like what a player is worth is, you can argue from now to Jesus coming, you never resolve it, because there's just a lot of intangibles that goes into valuation. So paying 45 billion for Anthony Gordon, paying 120 for Enzo, it all becomes a wash because there's a lot of intangibles in valuation. So it's hard to justify what is a player worth. But in terms of what we needed, I think Chelsea got some really, really good signing. Now, the downside to making a lot of signing is you just don't know how it's all going to play out. So only time will tell, because we did bring in a lot of players. And I, as you rightfully said, it doesn't seem like we have a plan. But also, too, the state of Chelsea, we don't have the luxury to have a plan. So you just have to buy what you can buy. I was really sad for Liverpool to not bring in any player. I feel like there was a team in the top, historically top 6 that really, really needed 1 or 2 signings. I think that was Liverpool. Even if it's just signing an average player, maybe John Joe Shelby, someone to just kind of like.
They bought Gakpo. They buy Gakpo. They bought Cody Gakpo. 007.
But they needed a midfielder, though.
0
What did you say?
007 Gakpo. 0 goals, 0 assists, 7 games.
But he's a winger, right?
Yeah, that's on the transfer committee. Why did they go get a winger in the midfielder?
Yeah, they really needed a midfielder. They probably just, they don't even need a. Matter of fact, you know what? All jokes apart, they could have even gone for Jorginho. Like, they just needed someone to just come in and do something, right? Even if it's just pass backwards or just sing in the dance room. You can tell that team is like, depleted. You could just every time you see Liverpool play, they just look like they're out of ideas and depleted. I think that's it really for the transfer window. I mean, Nottingham Forest. Who did they sign? They signed Andre Ayew, and they also signed Jesus Navas, right?
Navas.
Yeah, they signed Navas from
Keylor
Nottingham.
Navas,
Yeah,
and he did really well today.
Yes, of course he did really well. He's a top goalie. Like, you kidding
He's
me?
the top goalkeeper.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, the top goalkeeper. So I mean, so those are the kind of winners. I think the jury is still out on Chelsea, but the fact that we got Enzo and the fact that like Todd Bowley is a freaking size lord in his closing deals, flying out to Portugal or whatever in his Gulfstream, closing deal. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah,
so I think So the top two winners really is Arsenal and Nottingham Forest. Chelsea will be in the middle, and the loser by a long stretch is Liverpool.
Okay. Me, I'll follow the theme since I came with this theme for like transfer window. For me, my best sign is I think that would be good is Pedro Porro, the wing back for Spurs. That kid is really good. And he's going to, if he plays, which I think he will play because Conte really wants him, it will revolutionize their right wing back. A deal that won't work out. I think it's the one that is already showing João Felix. I don't think Felix is going to work out.
Really?
Yeah, because 6 months.
I mean, he just got suspended. I mean,
he still came in. It's a transfer. He came in, right? That's my point. He already suspended. He's going to come back in now. So many more players now. They have to gel at the same time, right? In that forward line. So they have like what 7, 8, 9 people, almost 10 forward players.
And they still didn't buy striker.
Correct. So
we didn't need to though. We didn't need to buy. We did. We buy for Fana.
Oh, is that okay? He's a striker? Okay.
That's your strike. But so why is Havertz still playing center forward?
We also have Lukaku, right? I mean, it's true.
Let me take comment. Then I'll go back to say my transfer.
We need him for our team squad.
Morally, he's not playing sport again, but we need him for our team squad.
Nah, Niger Pikin. Let me address what Niger Pikin said, because from his comments I can tell he's a United fan.
Yes.
The point is this: we have, first of all, we have a new coach, right? Who has not even seen Greenwood. Ten Hag does not work with Greenwood at all.
Yeah,
he doesn't even know. Like Ten Hag walked into this whole Greenwood situation. So if the coach has survived without Greenwood this whole time, trust me, he can continue to survive. Now, does this mean we don't need strikers in the summer? Of course we do. But the point is, it's something he never used him in the first place, and you know the evidence shows that he doesn't need to bring him back.
I should also correct something that you said. He has seen Greenwood. He joined early in the summer, before even the new season began. This whole issue started in October.
No,
so he's seen.
No. October 2021 when it started.
He hasn't
Got
seen
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe he's seen him physically, but I'm talking about on the training ground.
I don't even think he's seen him physically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think
he ran him at a restaurant or something. Probably don't even want to look at him.
Yeah.
United has already spoke out on it. They don't want him in the camp. I don't see any other way as club will risk rocking the boat. If he wants to further his career, move to China, Netherlands, Portugal, Russia, and start performing. Fair enough. Idris says conflicted. Is it a moral thing or just turning a blind eye on the matter? Liverpool needed J5. They will defend Gakpo deal. Johanna is always on their
man like that.
I mean,
I love it. 007 Gakpo. That's what I'm calling him. 007. Liverpool for Gakpo because Mane was out. I know this is Ola. And there's some Bobby or Angel. No one up there. We need 2 midfield at least. What happened? The Americans are only allowing 50 million net spend per window to club.
This is definitely a lie.
Or this person, what's his name? Bola.
No, Bola doesn't talk like that.
Bola will usually show up with his DJ KBS.
but I would say that
he doesn't sound angry on his comments.
I would say that a few weeks ago, I think the last time I came in this group, I mentioned that the Gakpo deal was not a good deal.
Yeah,
because why do you need to buy more wingers in a scenario like this? And I think that it's all playing out. They don't have any striker. I mean, they have people they consider to be strikers, Firmino, but they're not even playing them. It's a very weird transfer strategy. Anyway, but I do want to talk on what what Dada mentioned, or should I say Size Lord mentioned a few minutes ago about the Arsenal. I think a couple of things that were mentioned. If you wanted to talk about where Arsenal needed to strengthen prior to the transfer window closing, they needed to strengthen in the defense, and they bought Jacob Kiwior, who is going to add more.
Yes.
You needed to strengthen in the attack after the loss of Gabriel Jesus. They bought in Leandro Trossard, and you needed to strengthen in the midfield because a lot of the things that a lot of people were saying was there was no depth in the midfield, and they brought in Jorginho, who is better than almost everybody there. So if the question is, did Arsenal improve significantly?
Absolutely.
I would say yes. They are probably the ones who gained the most. It may not have been as evident in the last game where they lost against Everton, but I think in the long term, you will see situations where Arsenal is going to use the class of some of the players they bought as a way to improve their chances of winning. But I also think that Chelsea squad, I think it's unsustainable to have this many players. A lot of them not playing, not doing anything, just collecting a paycheck. I feel like it's been a problem for them for a long time.
We'll get to the Chelsea episode. We'll get to Chelsea episode for
anyway.
Sure.
That's my second 2 cents.
Okay. Dr. Sakatsi, I don't know if my name is showing. Oh, so that's Dr. Sakatsi. You're right. That was him. Everyone's father is J5. Never forget this guy.
Who is J5? Who is just J5?
Jorginho.
Jorginho. Okay.
So that I think the best signing is, like I said, I think Pedro Porro. I think that's going to work out a lot. Deal that won't work out. I think it's João Felix. I think we just not have enough games, and before the season will peter out, and you just wonder why did we buy this guy. But for me, the biggest surprise transfer is what we talked about earlier. I just saw Keylor Navas to Nottingham Forest. Like, what? 3-time Champions League winner? Like, where? What? When I saw that, I was shocked. Like, how? Where? What's Keylor Navas doing in Nottingham Forest? You know, even though they're not fighting relegation, right? They look like they should be when you hear the name, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're not. I looked at the position on the table. They're not fighting relegation.
No, they're not. Yeah, they're not.
They're
the manager turned it around.
I think it's because he just Keylor Navas just didn't have anywhere to fit in, you know, and so yeah.
With regards to João Felix, we should also remember that João Felix is not signing to Chelsea permanently.
Yep.
This is a situation where we all know that the manager from Atletico Madrid is probably going to be out at the end of the season, and they needed that's Diego Simeone. They needed him because probably they don't get along. So Chelsea needed a striker. They got him in there. When the end of the season happens, he's gonna leave Chelsea. He's not a long-term target for Chelsea. There's no decision to keep him in the squad.
You don't think Size Lord will slam 120 million on the table?
I don't think that. No, I don't think Atletico Madrid is going to sell no matter what.
Oh, really? You don't think Atletico sells?
No.
Interesting. In the contract, there's no straight up loan.
I know there's no obligation to buy, but I mean, it's. I think if Chelsea wants him, they get him.
I don't think so. If they did, they would have put an option to buy, right?
Yeah,
we negotiated in the first place.
Yeah, the options. Okay, Kwame, your own thoughts. Transfer window. You can go.
I think Arsenal want it. I think Arsenal won the transfer window. I'm just going to copy and paste what Raji said. They strengthen in every department, and especially with that midfield with Jorginho and Leandro Trossard. That guy, that's the one that actually pained me the most. But yeah, Arsenal won the transfer window.
Someone said the Chelsea squad with Mourinho at the helm will walk the league for 2 seasons at least. Potter ain't called out for managing such a squad of big egos.
There's no big egos there, though.
The second part of the line, I understand what you mean. Potter doesn't have this experience,
There's no big egos, though. Chelsea fans, our team doesn't have egos. Like, we don't have any big name players.
I agree. I don't think there's any egos at Chelsea. I think maybe what this person trying to say is that with that many players so soon, maybe that's the point. That we brought in so many players in such a short time. It's very difficult for anybody to possibly. Maybe I don't know.
I agree with that. That first part I don't agree with though. 100% they will do it. People be looking at Mourinho for 2005.
The Mourinho part, nah, hell no.
Like people are
Get out of here with that.
People will say anything.
But we should point out that a lot of the Chelsea strikers are underperforming their respective cost. Kai Havertz, before he joined, was a prolific striker, and he's joined and he makes some very terrible misses.
Yep.
He's not very composed in front of the post. I wonder if we're going to see similar situations with, the new signings like Mudryk. I'm not entirely sure where it's going to go, and the fact that we are not sure makes you wonder, how this is all going to play out. So yeah,
why did Modric come off at halftime? I didn't watch the game. Was he like
he had
something?
He had a cold.
He had a cold?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's what the manager said, right? I was not in the dressing room.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling too fine, I guess.
Marshall 2.0.
And don't forget that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is still in the Chelsea squad, even though everybody's trying to forget who he is.
Correct. That's true.
One of Europe's top strikers joined this Chelsea squad and is not.
Yeah, we're going to open a case because if this was any other manager, man. Some Chelsea fans I know on this pod, we're not this forgiving, man.
It's a different it's a different era.
It's a different era. Okay. Real quick, let me take these comments. Then Oga Kame, I want to know your thoughts about Sabitzer. Just quick thoughts about Sabitzer. Then we'll move to the next section.
Okay. All right.
John says,
you want to take the comments first?
Yeah, let me take comments.
Okay.
First.
All right.
John says they're not selling. They just don't give Felix games because the coach doesn't like him. Yeah, fair enough. It goes that way at Chelsea. It just says laughing my ass off. Wait, sorry. These comments are just okay. Chelsea is too toxic for any player to win. Isn't that supposed to be the other way around though? The fact that they're toxic, that's why player win, player power. Mm-hmm. Code excuse, we are waiting. That's an Arsenal fan, I know. Excuse the code. We have tried. We're trying to play with Cucurella. That sign is looking like a real busty bust now. I'm like,
you mean Cucurella?
Yeah. Does everyone's father is a top striker today come to Chelsea?
I like how Idris keeps talking about everybody's father.
Okay, quick thoughts on Sabitzer.
Marcel Sabitzer, I love him. What a midfielder. I've wanted this guy at United for at least 3 years now. When he was at Leipzig and went to Bayern Munich, I was not happy. I really thought United would do that. And I think we looked at him a little bit. It was just one of those monitoring things,
Yeah, our way.
And it's so weird that, United doesn't, just like with Bruno Fernandes, had Scott McTominay not gotten injured in that winter, we would have never bought Bruno Fernandes.
Absolutely.
Now, had Christian Eriksen not gotten, mutilated by Andy Carroll, we would have never gotten Marcel Sabitzer. I like the guy. I like him. He's a very technical player. He's press resistant, and I'm in love with press resistant players. He can play out of the press and he can carry out of the press as well. When it comes to defensive presence as well and contributions defensively, he beats Eriksen by a mile. And that's no shade to Christian Eriksen at all. Eriksen is just not one of those. He's not one of those players. He's not dominating in terms of stature, and he's also not dominating in terms of how he runs around the field and cuts passing lanes and makes tackles and intercepts and all those things. Sabitzer does that. I would say he probably does it maybe at the same level as Fred, right? Or at the or even more. And offensively, I don't have enough evidence to say that he gives the same. He has good range of passing with both his left and his right feet. But I've not seen enough to say that he passes Eriksen in that sense. But in terms of what it brings to the game as a replacement for Eriksen, I'm tempted to say it might be a slight upgrade just because of his defensive contribution as well. So, man like Sabinos, I like him.
And the Niger guy, kind of said the same thing. Sabitzer
Yeah.
Nasabi guy. Okay, let's move on swiftly to the new top four people. Newcastle. Okay. I know we brought him on maybe twice, Raji. So now Newcastle are in the top four. Yeah, I know every time Newcastle do well, Raji texts me in the background. When are we going to put respect on Newcastle? I said, don't worry, your time is coming. Anytime he texts again, when I say, okay. So I said, we have to bring it now because they qualified for Newcastle has qualified for their first final since 1999. Correct me if I'm wrong, Raji. I think it's the first cup final in 1999.
Yes.
And you are in top four now, right? So
Yeah.
the question is around, do you think you can keep it to this end of the season? And have your targets changed? Because I think, remind me, you had told me top 6 beginning of the season. That's what first season. You are now in top 4 now. So take it away.
So let's talk about this top 4, top 6 situation. I will say that the way the transfer windows played out, it means that the club is not particularly keen on top 4. If it was keen on top 4, they would have gotten a central midfielder for sure to add to the depth of the squad. We got in some good forwards because one of the situations we have right now is that, teams in the second half of seasons, teams figure out teams. Look at Manchester City at the beginning of the season. Nobody could try to understand how to stop Haaland. As Haaland been scoring now, teams know how to play him now. It's always going to happen. And in the second season, we always see teams like West Ham. They all falter. They go from top 4 and start to lose games. So one of the things that you would know the ambition of the team by what positions they strengthen in the January window. We let go of what's his name? Our midfielder, John Joe Shelby. And I think that the decision to let go of Shelby kind of gives an idea of what the ambitions of the squad is. I think that the club is fine with a top 6, and they will aim for a top 4 if they can get it. Now, having said that, I think that we are ahead of schedule. And I think when getting into the top 4 is going to be very interesting. Tottenham is now on a roll. They are 1 point behind Newcastle United with 1 game ahead. So it's going to be interesting. Newcastle has not had an easy set of games this last few weeks. West Ham is also on a run, and they scored against Newcastle for the first time since October at home, which was a very weak goal if you look at it. We should have done better with that. But I think that going forward, I think what happens in the next few games is going to determine our season. If we are able to beat Bournemouth and we're able to beat Liverpool, which are the next 2 games, we will then know where the goal of the squad is. The fact that we don't have Bruno Guimaraes is going to be a significant loss for those games, because what you see is that when we play those games, we don't have any attacking forward progression from the midfield anymore. We have to play from the wings. It's easy to stop those. And if Bournemouth and Liverpool are able to stop those, then we know that, all right, we are in a bit of a rot. I still think that Newcastle finishes in the top 4. I still think that they're going to change the system for the next few games. But I think that we have enough depth to be able to keep our current progression. Tottenham still has the same problem. They did a great job against Manchester City today, but I don't know if they can sustain that. I still think we'll finish in the top 4, and hopefully, I dreamt last night of Manchester United fans crying, and I woke up because it was a happy dream. That we win the cup for the first time in almost 50 years. So good times ahead.
Why would you wake up if it was a happy dream?
You want me to die?
It just says, Donna Beggy, Saudi's copying and pasting size lot Bowley's template. They speed up that test schedule. Say money problem. SARS on the beats.
That's not the right statement.
No,
but Bowley's
the
template
template is different.
It's different. That's not
they're using more like the Man City's approach, I think. sovereign wealth fund money is interesting how you spend it. It's not really you're not really return oriented. Because I mean, you guys are there's a little bit of like speculation going on with the Saudis, right?
Yeah.
White Todd Ball is just a pure size lord. He's not. He's just trying to make money.
Yeah, he's just buying everybody up.
Yeah,
Newcastle squad hasn't. I would say that even in this January window, we got smaller. So they're
Yeah.
trying to reduce the amount of players that we have, and increase the specific kind of players. So they target specific players for specific roles based on the need of the coach. They don't just buy players.
just
So it's one of and if they can't buy a player that matches what the expectations of the coach is, they don't buy at all.
yeah. It's a
So it's a
different.
totally different system.
Yeah, it mirrors more what City is doing. I think Chelsea is just more on a asset accumulation mode
Yeah,
rather than more of like building a strategic team. So
yeah. It's like kind of like McDonald's. People think they're in the fast food business, but they're in the real estate business. Chelsea is not in the. Is not in the. Is not
Chelsea's
in
not a
the.
football team.
It's not a football team. They are an asset team. They
Yeah.
and
have
that's
all the players. They loan them out, and they make money from that. So I think it's a totally different style.
Okay, good comments, good comments, good points. We've come to the last quarter of the hour, so last 15 minutes to be specific. If people want to call in, let us know. It looks like everybody's ducking. They're ducking the smoke. It's okay if people are ducking the smoke. We could just keep going. But anybody else calling, just say you want to call in the comments. We'll send you the link. You call in to say your comments and you jump out. You don't have to stay throughout the end of the show. That's how we do it. It just replies, let's see, early days still. Todd found loopholes. BC accumulation. Anybody have any additional comments on Newcastle before we jump to the next topic?
I mean, the only kind of look, the only thing they're going to win is a Sippy Cup. You guys are not winning that cup against Manchester United. That's all.
Okay. I'm looking for. I want to see that video after that final cup when Manchester United loses. I'm going to comment. I always comment when Manchester United loses.
I know
want to
you
see
do.
that
I know
video.
you do, and I'll be waiting. In fact, I might even fly out to California. I'm just saying.
Okay,
All right.
somebody wants to call in. Samuel Fagade wants to call in, so send in the link in the chat.
Oh, okay. I posted it on the Facebook link. Let me post it again.
Okay. Yeah,
Samuel, I posted it. If you look at the Facebook link at the first comment, it's there. But let me post it again. Just
post it to him. Specifically, reply to his own comment and post it to him so we can get Samuel on.
okay.
Come on, talk. Don is dreaming like Joseph. Be careful though. Eric works miracles.
I mean,
Okay, since now let's go to the one who told me I'm very interested in. Haha. Chelsea.
why are you very interested?
Why? I mean, I just have
don't forget that Joseph's dreams came true.
Chelsea is a new super team. So I specifically went to this. Are you worried or excited by these transfers? Of course, when I use worry, I'm talking of rival teams. I'm sure. So, Dada, how excited are you about this transfer?
So Chelsea had a really exciting transfer window. But I think too, what's really interesting about this new Chelsea is more of just the strategy and the way we're approaching things. We're buying really good players for the future. We now have a good backroom staff. We have a technical director. We have people who are in charge of transfers. There's now finally a strategic vision to the team. I think the way Chelsea is going through a new era. I think the last era under Roman was more of you have a central guy that just made all the decisions. And and one thing that really helped Chelsea back then was Chelsea could execute deals really quick because it was just one person. So Roman would maybe, they'll make transfer recommendations to him, and Roman just had to decide what he wanted to do. But now we have a more kind of like an integrated process of going about it. So I think it's really, really exciting. And then we have a lot of exciting talents, new players that are going to be good, and also to our ability to let go of dead weights. We're able to get rid of Jorginho. We would have sold Ziyech on the last day loaned him out to PSG, and I think the deal is still live. So that gives me a lot of positive. Azpilicueta is probably going to go next season. I would have loved if we didn't sign Thiago Silva for another season. I think it's time to let him go. But I think they're just keeping him there. He's a good ambassador of the club.
Yeah.
Good spirit, probably be good for the locker room, mentor new players. So I think that's what it's there for. And there's a lot of what's the word? There's a lot of doubts when it comes to our manager. Uh, but that's not an issue. Like I feel like managers are easily replaceable. I don't have any problem with people letting go of managers, but I think also too they should give him to the end of next season to really build out the squad. Really have players gelling well and playing well together. So I think on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm really, really excited about this new project. I think it's going to be fantastic, and I'm also even more excited about the players that we're getting. So it's all smiles here. The season is a wash. I think Chelsea's season is done. The best we can muster would be a decent Champions League run, and then maybe not finish bottom half of the table. But we can use this from now to the end of the season to keep cohesion within the team, keep all our players fit. We'll see what happens next season.
I think it's worrying to. I think is Chelsea the new super team is an interesting question.
I don't think we're a super team though. Sorry,
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, I think we need to address that. We're not a super team. A lot of the players that we bought are not even finished product, right? We bought them for the hope of a potential. It's like you're buying a player that you hope that in the next 2-3 years it will grow into something. So we're paying for a lot of upside. If you look at the Chelsea team, very few of our players can walk into any squad now and you're like, man, I gotta have this player. I think we're really buying for the future. So we're far from a super team. I mean, I hate to say it. I think City and United are probably more of a super team than we are. I think we're really buying for the future.
Okay.
You said City and United.
Before I address that, let's welcome Samuel to the live show. Thanks for joining. Hey, Samuel.
By the way, let me tell you, Samuel is only here because Man City lost. If Man City did not lose today, Samuel would not be here.
Top of the league business, bro.
I know that's why you're here.
Business, bro.
Okay, Samuel, rate Arsenal's transfer window. Let's take the word. Rate Arsenal's transfer window. Rate.
Right. I think I'll rate personally. I think I'll rate it probably 7 out of 10. And the reason why I'm saying that, right, is because obviously our last the last player we bought, which is Jorginho from Chelsea. Because honestly I think he's not the player we actually wanted. Obviously we tried signing Caicedo from Brighton and nothing happened. So we thought, let's just go for a more experienced player and all that. So for that reason, right, I'll give you 7 out of 10, to be honest. But personally, I don't think Jorginho is a bad player. I just think it's past it, to be honest. And the fact that he's going to be a backup to Partey, I'm not complaining. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, we signed him for a short contract, like 18 months contract, which is quite good. So which means, if you don't want him anymore, we can still get a top defensive midfielder in the summer, and just let him go. So which is quite good. So I'm happy, to be honest. So I'll give 7 out of 10. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna give it anyway.
Does Arsenal go to win the league, Samuel? Now that we have it live.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm starting to believe.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And the reason why I'm believing, right? The reason why I've got that belief a little bit is because of Man City. The Man City that I know, you know what I mean, would have gone on to smash Spurs today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the Man City that we all know is not same Man City. I mean, it's not same Man City this season. You know what I mean? They're not really achieved this season. And obviously, I think there's more to it as well. That camp is not settled because if Pep could allow one of his key players, right, to leave in January, which means something's not right somewhere. And he left De Bruyne on the bench as well. So something's going on. And obviously, I mean, if you look at the game altogether, you know what I mean? I don't think they achieved this season. And for that reason, I think we've got a chance, to be honest. And also, people keep forgetting as well. Man United, you guys are coming up as well.
Hey, stop it.
No,
Man,
honestly,
remove him right now.
Listen,
Remove him.
Listen, I'm that person right here. I look around me a lot, yeah, and looking at Man Man United, I think your only problem is if you keep losing Casemiro, like that, then you have a problem, because I don't think there's anybody that's gonna make your team think the way he does.
Yeah.
And if you keep losing him that way, then you have a problem. But aside that, I think you guys are in top form right now, and it might give us a bit of problem. But Man City, I don't think Man City will give us a problem at all this season, to be honest. And that's why I'm starting to believe a little bit.
I'm going to say that the point that Samuel made about De Bruyne on the bench is significant, because De Bruyne on the bench today in a game like this kind of shows that there's some unsettling stuff happening in the background. People who know, but the conversation that has been going on is that Cancelo has been looking to leave for a while. And I think that his sprightness when he joined Bayern Munich kind of shows that this is something that he wants. And I think that the conversation with De Bruyne could have gone from the fact that maybe he didn't want Cancelo to leave. Manchester City was one of the teams that I consider to have lost this transfer window. And I think that it's going to play a significant. I think that the fact that their back four is really weak. Any team, I don't know how many clean sheets they've had this season, but I don't think it's a lot. The goal they scored this weekend, that Tottenham scored them, was just horrible when you look at it. And all Tottenham had to do was stop Haaland from going in, and all of a sudden, irrespective of what Manchester City did in the midfield, they were not able to score. They had 65% of possession, and they still weren't able to score. So yeah, I think that Manchester City may not be the team that everybody thinks it is.
Yeah.
But you should also not write them off, because they're still Manchester City.
Yeah. And also before I leave you guys, right, I just want to chip in quickly, right, as well. Yeah, we must see when the ball Alan in, right. I think they actually how would I put it, change their game a little bit to suit Alan. Do you know what I mean? Because if you look at Man City, right, of the past, right, they could play an entire season without a striker, bro. Because they tend to like move the ball around a lot, and you don't really know where the goal is coming from, so you don't know who to mark and all that. But with this one, you can easily know they're looking for Haaland, and if you just totally mark him out, there's nothing. They've got nothing left. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that as well is going to play, on our part as well. And I think the next game is going to be massively important though for us now. If you can beat Brentford at home, then we obviously will go 8 points, at the top, which is quite good. So yeah, we'll see.
I think that they've been trying to mitigate that by getting Haaland to move back into the midfield.
That's not his game, though.
That's not his game. But I think that they know of the limitations they have, and they've been trying to force Haaland back. And he tried to do that today. But as you all know, when Haaland is in front, that's where he's most deadly. He's not the greatest passer. He doesn't do the ball handling very well. He's not a midfielder. He's a blunt force striker. And he can't be as effective as he would be if he was in the front.
If you have De Bruyne, you don't need to bring Haaland deep. If you have De Bruyne on the pitch,
but they didn't have De Bruyne for most of that game.
They did, and that's what I'm saying. Pep needs to suck it up, bring back De Bruyne, bring back Ruben Diaz, bring back Laporte, because Akanji and Ake, they're not cutting it. Point blank period.
Right, as they cut too deep this season, man. Shevchenko, Sterling, Jesus, now Cancelo. I mean, you can't lose those 4 players.
Those 2 players,
in the main team now.
Absolutely.
I think they went too far with the transfer out. They went too far with that.
Yeah,
those are key players that can really change your game if you having a.
I think that Jesus being in the game today would have been significant for them. Yeah.
Or even just swap Harry Kane with Haaland. That would have been totally different, because Harry Kane can actually come into the midfield, get the ball, just put it on all that. Unlike Haaland, you can't do all that. So that's the problem they've got in our city. But I mean, my prayer is that problem just keeps coming up, because I want him to just fall. Honestly, I'm loving Liverpool right now. Liverpool are like They're like the new Stoke City to me, bro. I want to go to Anfield. Right? Take me to Anfield right now, bro. Take me to Anfield right now. I swear to God, I'll pepper them at Anfield. I swear to God, man. So yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy, right? And before I leave as well, my last how do I put it? My last opinion, right, on Greenwood, right? He's I mean, I used to love that boy a lot, honestly. And is one boy that I've looked I've looked into since he started playing at Man United, and I thought to myself he's gonna become a super player. But I think I don't think he's gonna ruin him again. And also I think the Premier League, right, is quite how do I put it, is a wicked place, for any colored player. Do you know what I mean? If you're colored, right, and he's a black guy, if you're colored, then and you've got that kind of problem, where obviously you've been charged or you've been sent to court for something like that. There's no way you can survive, because even if he gets back to United, all the fans, right, all the opening fans, right, will never forgive you. Every time he gets the ball, they'll get at him. They'll probably come up with a song just to ruin his entire game and all that. So I think he's gonna leave now. I'm not sure United will get him back. I think they'll let him go, and he might go somewhere else and start his football together. But I don't think he's gonna get to the top anymore. That's my own opinion anyway. But that's it. Yeah.
Thanks for calling. Thanks for calling, Sam. Appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.
All right,
bye. Bye.
Okay. Let's finish wrap up on Chelsea, right? Let me do my thoughts on Chelsea. I think this approach, that'll come back here, don't run away. I think this approach by Chelsea is high risk, high reward, long term, because what you're banking on is so many things. You're banking on dressing room dynamics. You're banking on each of those players developing to the potential that you want. Each of them maximize the potential. You're banking on the manager to figure out each role, because you know that first of all, not all transfers will work out. It's just plain economics. There's no whether it's Pep at his peak, Mourinho at his peak, even Klopp, right? Which almost all their transfers are working out. There were some that still did not work out. So all the transfers will not work out. So now you're now banking on the manager having to quickly figure out who am I building the team around, right? When I say that, I use that loosely in the sense that which profile of players do you mix and match and balance each other out. There's too many things at the same time. I think it's a very, very, very super high risk approach for squad building. It's so super high risk just because the Premier League of 2005, because I think Chelsea tried to do this before under Abramovich in 2003, 2005, right? But that Premier League of 2003 is not the Premier League of this season. It's gone. That Premier League is long gone. It's long gone because everybody. In fact, the Premier League is the Super League, right? This way that didn't happen. Is the Premier League now? The Premier League is the Super League. Everybody has quality, and I think it's a high risk approach, and I think it's kind of slightly unfair on what's his name, Potter, to do that.
Potter. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because now you have now put why? Because you have too many players that he now has to figure out very, very quickly. Who do I let go? Who do I play? How do I balance egos? How do I
too much too soon?
Yeah, but I don't think all that decision is on him though.
How do I make people happy? Because this is what happened to Lampard. People forget this.
Yeah, but one thing is like
Lampard
all that decision is not on him though. It's not just on Potter though. One is not on Potter.
It is.
No, what I'm saying is like one, it's not just on Potter, because when it comes to, there's some players that are going to leave Chelsea coming the end of the season. That's one. And two, the question that a lot of people keep forgetting is, so like I get it, like, but the thing is that Chelsea, we don't have the luxury of building like every year, bringing one player this year, bringing another player this year. Like the team. Well, the reason being is this: the team needed like a rebuild like 6 years ago. We didn't do that. Like when we let go of Hazard, that's when we should have rebuilt this team. We didn't. What we did every season was we'll bring in one star player, expect them to provide shock therapy. If that doesn't work out, we'll do it next season. So Chelsea has not actually, are you ready? So Chelsea has not actually like gone through a team building process. So I'm not in these decisions, but my guess, if I was to guess why they took this approach, was two reasons. They saw a loophole in FFP that they wanted to exploit.
Yeah.
And so they felt like, okay, you know what? We need to bring in all these players now because next season we would not be able to do that. That's one of my guesses. Once again, I'm just speculating here. The second thing is too, they're also really assets accumulating. It's like, let's look at all the top talents. If it doesn't work out, how much can we salvage from these players? So that's one approach. And those two things I mentioned are kind of like non-footballing approach. And number three, too, is all these players are not really buying in for Potter. So I think the decision is made consulting him. Like, yeah, they bring him into play. Like, here's what we're thinking. Here's the profile. But they're also looking at like, okay, if we build this team, if we have all this raw talent, in a situation where we let go of Potter, can a top manager make this work? And in a situation that a top manager cannot make work, what can you let go and then what can you reshuffle? So I think if you put all those three ideas together, that is why. Because we're not like a City or a Liverpool to where like we have a core identity. And then we can say, okay, next season, let's buy this. Next season, let's buy this, right? And we don't have a Ten Hag of a manager that can just come in and like make concussion, make something work, and then you guys can go back to the drawing board. And number three, Chelsea does not have debts. Roman Abramovich absorbed 250 million of our debts. So we're debt-free. You want to exploit loopholes, right? You don't really have a structure in place. This is what you do. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so don't look at it as like a well-run organization. Chelsea is a shit show. We were a shit show last season. This is continuation of a club that is a shit show. And that's all you can do is, man, you know what? We're going to start from the beginning. Let's just do this. Let's just do this however we can. So you're thinking of it from a footballing aspect of something that makes sense. Now, this is a crappy ass club. This is a club that one man Roman got sanctioned and the entire club fell apart.
Yep.
How can a club fall apart because of one man?
But what's very interesting to me is Chelsea is kind of taking the chicken and the egg approach, you know, in the sense that now I'm seeing that you guys have recruited a director of football. You have two directors of football. I saw Chelsea hierarchy, but you did director of football after you complete transfer window. This just happened this week, director of football.
No, we've been talking to him.
So why didn't you just do the other way around, right? Just hold on, get director of football like they have. I'm not saying not sign players.
It's time.
But then you now sign like 11 players. This like
no, but it's time though. It's time because you have to think about this. Your transfer window opens. You have a loophole that you want to exploit. You need to do it because you don't know when the director of football is going to be available.
I understand that loophole. What is the rush to exploit a loophole? But when you now make bad transfer decisions, we say, you talk about this every time.
Mm-hmm.
One of the worst is better sometimes not to do anything than to make a bad transfer decision. Because you make a bad transfer decision, you're going to have to spend like 2 years. It would set you back. This transfers could set Chelsea back. I don't know why people are not seeing that. It could set Chelsea back.
No, it's not like they're not saying it though, but you don't really have the choice. That's the point I'm trying to make.
You have a choice though.
I want to make a quick point real quick about this before we divert. I think that one of the things that you talked about that was the fact that Chelsea has not rebuilt since they got rid of Hazard.
Right. Yeah,
I disagree with that statement. They've bought it. One of the reasons why they brought in Kai Havertz, they brought in Hakim Ziyech was to rebuild for the future with those players. One of the reasons why Conor Gallagher has gone in from the academy to the squad is because of that. And one of the reasons why they bought players like Kani Chukwuemeka in the midfield is that the problem is they buy all these players. Kani Chukwuemeka has only played 8 games this season. They don't use the players that they buy, and then they add more. And at the end of this, when they need to draw the numbers, they have this big squad and they have to choose only 25. Some people are going to be angry and some people are going to be sad, and they're all going to be in the dressing room coming in every day to train. So that is going to build a feeling of angst in the squad. I don't think it's a good situation to be in. And don't forget, we still have Denis Zakaria in the squad, and they bought Enzo Fernandez.
He's on loan. Zakaria is on loan.
He's on loan.
And then keep in mind too, we're gonna get rid of Kante, right? Kovacic will most likely leave, right? So and then we've gotten rid of Jorginho. So those are 3 midfielders that we've gotten rid of, and those people that you mentioned, they're gonna fill in that role. So it's not like I guess what I'm saying is there's a method to the madness, but considering where we were coming from, this is the only option that we have.
But the method is the same, Dada. It's literally the same thing.
No, it's not. It's not the same from where we were before.
What
No.
Chelsea did under Lampard, like they just bought a whole bunch of players for Lampard, and some of them were kind of younger, some were like maybe a little bit peak prime age. The only difference is all transfers are younger players. Think about it. That's the only difference. But you guys spent like I think you broke at that time, like 250 million under Lampard.
Who did we buy? We bought Timo, right?
You
We bought
bought
ZH.
ZH, you bought
Right,
Havertz.
we bought Havertz, right?
Don't forget, you still have Trevor. Chalobah still is in your
Those are
team.
youth players, though. Those are youth players.
Lukaku is still a player too.
Loftus
Lukaku is
Cheek
a
is still
player.
in the
Lukaku is
Chelsea
still
midfield.
Right, we probably shouldn't have signed Lukaku, right? Timo Werner and Havertz were maybe they were not necessarily future talent; they were somewhat established.
Yep.
Right.
I
That's not rebuilding the team. You're not rebuilding the team because when we bought Timo, when we bought Havertz, we really needed a midfielder, right?
Christian
Like
Pulisic.
Chelsea has been playing injured Kante and side to side Jorginho for how many years now? We should have been bought a midfielder like almost 2 seasons ago, but we didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Because Chelsea approach has always been shock therapy. If the manager doesn't work out, buy a new player. If a new player doesn't work out, fire the manager. And it becomes this cycle that we've been doing for a long time. Because Roman really didn't care. Roman was just like, I just need to win. Roman was not building a sustainable business. Right now, Chelsea is, but is on a path to be somewhat sustainable as football is concerned. Because you're signing like long-term talent that you can sell, right? And you're amortizing over their wage period, paying them low wages. Chelsea's wage bill is going to be lower next season than it was 2 seasons ago. Do you know that? That's what I'm saying. So the ability for you to lower your wage bill, but that might not get you points in the league. That's like a step in the right direction. Right? You get let go of all these 300K with players. You're bringing in Enzo, all these hungry players. You're giving them 80K, 90K, 100 grand with some performance clauses there. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I get you in an ideal world. This is not what we should be doing. But like, this is a horribly run organization for many, many years.
Okay, let's Idris wants to jump in. Idris, okay.
Yeah, gentlemen, pleasure to join real quick. Since because it was Chelsea thing, that's why I was like, no, I need to get on this. So, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly.
Yeah. So, basically, poorly run club to me is subjective. I'll just quickly throw that in there. I will explain why. Based on how sanctions are being done in today's modern time, if any owner is part of a club and the club is sanctioned, then all you have to decouple that person or that entity out of the entire financial structure of that club. So if you look at it from the example that I gave, which is not wrong, like, okay, they sanctioned one guy and the whole club was frozen. Today's way sanctions are being used, depending on your political beliefs, social beliefs, religious beliefs, or whatever you believe, it is not a sustainable place to enhance business for people to come in. It is used frivolously in such a way that, like, even if 5 of us own an entity and you sanction one of our persons in here, the club will be frozen, whether you like it or not, because our finances are entangled. You feel me? Now, it might be more easier to remove, say, me being the sanctioned person, so that the four other owners can actually run the club. That's a different situation. You get me? If Newcastle is sanctioned today because of the Saudi World Fund, the entire of your finances are actually being frozen. Are you going to claim it's not a well-run club? Do you see where I'm going with the whole thing? So that's the part I might push back a bit. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just pushing back. Now, when it comes to the way we are signing, we need to. I need to actually also support that on this point. We used to sign stopgap, and during the Hazard period, when we lost Oscar and a few other guys of that set, we should have literally offloaded and gotten a new set. What we ended up doing was buying a very good player, bringing the player in. It doesn't work. We fired the coach. If you look at from Sarri till today, and look at the tactical philosophy of the coaches we've hired, it's never been a progression of the same philosophy or identity. It's been one counter offensive, one counter coach. Actually, went from Conte to possession driven coach in Sarri, from Sarri to Lampard, who's just cutting his teeth and is an all offensive coach, no brain at the back. Then we went to what's his name, Tuchel, who actually is a pragmatic 4-3-3 coach, but had to switch his team to play counter-attack because of the players we had signed for Sarri. So when we're actually talking about getting the core of the team to actually replace them, I think people don't realize that when Hazard left, that was 50% of Chelsea's goals scored. These are stats that, I mean, we've gone back and forth here, Ayo, about it. 50% of goals scored, 1/4 of the goals scored and 1/4 of the goals assists was one man. So he papered over a lot of cracks for Chelsea, a lot of cracks. So when he left, the reality of the team's abilities were now shown. When Kante gets injured, we go from literally a top team fighting for top 4 to where we are today, 10th, fighting relegation. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but you understand. So when we are talking about we bought Werner, we bought Lukaku, we bought all these people and their fathers, you come to Chelsea, you earn your father's name, and you would realize that we have players that don't complement other players. So in this case, there's also one misconception I want to actually change, that we purchased players without the consent, not without the consent of the 2 technical directors. That is false. They have been identified. We went after some of those guys while they were still in full time employment to other clubs. Because of legal reasons, we couldn't have these guys announced as our technical directors or technical football. But do not miss the fact that they were already working for the club on who they were going to hire. If you look at the first time when they fired Tuchel, when we would go for a player, and they were Barcelona, the broke club Barcelona was eating our bread left, right, center. Everybody and Ayo here defended Tuchel, saying he didn't want to be a technical guy, he just wanted to coach. There's no way I will own a club and they are embarrassing me like this in public, and my guy is telling me that's not his career path. I'm firing you, getting the people that are interested, and I'm going to build based on the consulting knowledge I have. And I do believe that Todd Bowley didn't go for all these signings. If you look at the way we went for players and we got embarrassed in the market, and this time we were going in there and chewing everybody's lunch, including Arsenal, by the way. Even if I don't win anything, that's the only thing I will accept. But you cannot say you don't see the difference on strategy, acquisition of players, everything that I said from a financial standpoint, which is very knowledgeable at, in reducing financial burden on the club from a wage structure, and also finding loopholes to actually get this done so that we can actually spend strategically next season. What we have now with the technical advisors that I do believe were part of these acquisitions, the kind of coaches we'll acquire down the line will not be drastically different from what we've done in the past. Going a counter-offensive coach to a possession coach and you just have a mix. Jorginho had to go. You understand? Jorginho had to go. And it's not because I hate Jorginho. We were not.
Yes, it's because you hate Jorginho.
At one point, we were not. No, it's even unfair to J5. We were not using him well. We weren't. Like we just, when Kante that can make Kovacic and Jorginho play well, that is the core. Build up, defense, everything for a team. We didn't got that. We kept doing everything peripheral. But now that he's out, now that we have young players coming through, now we spent this money. I can assure you the caliber and the characteristics of the players will complement each other better than what we had. And that I mentioned, a lot of players on the every wage bill are leaving.
Kante has been putting bandage on a lot of Chelsea problems. Like,
thank you. We've run him down.
A lot of Chelsea problems. Like horrible midfield, horrible forward. And then what saved us maybe last year or 2 seasons ago was Rich James and Chilwell just decided to be a piece. You know what happened? What
happened to those two workhorses when they went down?
Went down. The moment Rich James, Chilwell, and Kante went down, that team went from 80% to like 20%. That was not a club now.
Let's take comments.
Thank you very much for having me. Let me because I can keep talking.
Yes, we know. Go. Get out of here. Bye.
Thank you.
Tell Mujiki for how much, sir. Then let's go to Donkey and Kudos and Donkey. Oh God, this is has joined. We won't hear what again. Do you believe Potter had a say in all the players? That are yes or no? Quick answer.
Well, I don't know if he had a say, but
I don't think it did.
He was consulted. He probably got his input.
We can't hear your voice from the 9th. Koulibaly is going to leave too.
Yeah, he might leave. Wait, did Potter sign these players? Why would a manager be signing players?
Koulibaly says he's going to leave. He might leave. But you guys just bought. This is what I'm saying. You just bought him this season. Give him a 4-year contract, and you're going to eat the cost.
Should
why not?
They were talking about Raheem. They were talking about Chelsea being open to a bid from Raheem Sterling. So yeah,
why not though? But what I'm saying is, why should you? No, let me ask you a question though. Why do you have to sign a player, and if it's not working out, why do you have to keep them long term?
No. I'm not saying you have to keep them. But that's what you should avoid going forward. But you are not even learning from that. That's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna say that.
Like, so we bought Koulibaly pre this, more like technical directors and everything. You buy a player. If it's not working out, why should you keep the player?
But
I mean, this shows a flaw in the technical director's position, because the technical director should be thinking long term. There must have been a reason why they bought Koulibaly. And if you lose him after one season, that means you didn't do enough research to know.
So
I don't think that the director for
right? Not all transfers work out, right? So
but Chelsea has too many transfers that don't work out.
But when that's the problem, though. No.
Koulibaly is an example of a transfer that didn't work out.
What this guy? Not this guy. Man, y'all can play anybody calling.
Okay, we need to have a limit on the number of Arsenal fans we can have calling.
Anyone in? I mean, you guys have to do a better job screening guests, man.
Honestly, honestly, bro.
Come on now.
Honestly,
I'm from
two
Sandra.
Arsenal fans in one show. No.
PSG fans are not allowed to tell you.
I haven't even said anything. I've not said anything.
Yeah, we don't want you to say anything. That's the point. We don't want you to say anything.
Wow.
I'm not talking about Arsenal. I'm not talking about Arsenal.
Wow. Not this guy.
So what do you want to what do you want to talk about Chelsea? Toby?
I want to talk about Chelsea because I'm having a lot of falsehoods that I don't agree with.
Okay.
I think that Chelsea is a super club. I don't know why these guys here are trying to.
The super club. They said super
Hold
team.
up. Wait, hold up. You're a super club building a super team. Last year, you went for every single player Arsenal wanted. Jesus, you bid for him. There's no player. United won a couple of players. Chelsea went for them. All of them didn't always say yes. So you went for the midfielder that made the biggest splash by winning the World Cup. There's no way you tell me all these players were identified by a coach like Potter, or Potter has a say. And I do agree with what I say. But hold on. You're making it sound like, now Chelsea, or Edith is making it sound like Chelsea's buying the right players to suit this play. This is a shotgun approach to soak up all the good young talent and see if it works. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
That's asset accumulation. First of all, this whole idea of Chelsea
but the point is,
players, there's a small amount of universe of players that top clubs can go for.
But hold on. Look at how City built their team. Look at how City built their team, right? And you have to have organization. You have to have a structure that says, these are the profile of players I want. I want them to complement one another. I want them to fight one another. And they're not all going to be $100 million players. Some of them will be 15 million. Some of them will be 20.
They had a structure, right? Chelsea, we don't have a structure.
But how is a coach? Think about it. Look, Potter was asked when João Felix came. And then 2 weeks later, Modric came. I think someone asked him, did you know? He's like, guys, they bring me players. I try to make it work. I think you're setting Potter up for a scenario, right, where the players have more power than him. Because a player knows I'm there 8 years. But let me make my point. Any player that doesn't feel, think about Pep's ability to tell Cancelo, you don't want to listen to me, bye. That's important in any club. I'm sorry, right?
No, it's not actually. It's not important in any club.
I do think it's important because remember Arsenal did this thing with Emery, right? Emery was the first guy we bought post Wenger. We said Wenger had too much power. We're going to bring in Emery. We're going to make him coach, right? And then the guy was like, I want Wilfred Zaha. Then we had this guy that came from Barcelona and said, nah, there are better options market. Let me go and get you Pepe. That was 72 million. And it never really did work. Now, both of them have left, right? Arteta was brought in as a manager, as a coach, first of all. Yeah. Then the club was like, you can't have so many people not so many people, you can't have diverse opinions and then have a dressing room that a player feels like, I have more power. Ozil, Aubameyang, all these guys, they felt like, what's this guy saying? I have more power. I'm on the long-term contract, not him. So he doesn't want me to train. I'm here for 8 years, not him. And I can tell you with footballers and egos, it is bound to happen. Not every footballer goes through a season happy with their playing time, not in the top team. So I feel like you set up Potter for the reason to fire him either at the end of this season or next season. And there's no way this strategy works in the short term.
But let me make a quick point, though. Let me make a quick point if I may. You mentioned City. So first of all, I'm really big on corporate organization and corporate governance. City's project started way before Pep. When Pep complemented City, not the other way around. When before Pep joined City 4 years ago, they knew they were going to bring in Pep. They were already setting up their infrastructure and everything in anticipation of Pep. And I'm pretty sure City as an organization, they know who their manager is going to be post-Pep.
Yeah.
They do, because they plan ahead. They're a well-run organization. They're a ball boy, they are a lawn man, the jersey guy. They're all buying into the strategic vision. You kind of have an idea of what City is going to do. Chelsea, on the other hand, I don't know what Chelsea's manager is going to be. I don't even know the profile of the new manager. Because 3 years ago, we were not ranked like that. We're not that kind of organization. We brought in Mourinho because he was available. Then we brought in Conte, who was a back three manager. Then we brought in Sarri, that all have different philosophies and different ways of doing things. And every year, it changes to the point where one manager is like, man, I don't even like this fitness coach or this fitness manager. Bring me this star because I like my players to be carb loaded. This one's like, no, I like them to be protein loaded. This is my point. So my point is like, we don't have that City luxury. So yeah, I do agree with you. What we're aspiring to be is what City is doing. What Arsenal is doing. And I go back to Newcastle. Newcastle's approach, I respect it a lot. They're not going from 0 to 100. They're making gradual changes to over time build a team. Chelsea could have taken that approach, but the reason why Chelsea cannot take that approach is that, first of all, we don't have debt, and second of all, the expectation from Chelsea fans is different. So I do think long term, this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to build a proper organization, right? That they can start signing players for a certain profile. I think they'll get there. But my point is, and everyone does agree.
I think you're going to make the same mistake United made a few years ago. That's my verdict. Which is you just sign a high profile player that's expensive that everybody wants. Whether it's Maguire, whether it's Luke Shaw, whether you want to bring Lukaku back, and then you figure out, oh well, the manager is not making it work. Let's get rid of him, bring another manager. You don't want to take your medicine and rebuild properly, forgetting that a football team is more than just stars, right? That's why PSG can't win the Champions League. It's not because they don't have the best talent, and they've been trying this super structure for so long. So I just think it's very short-termism, and ultimately football, especially in the Premier League, doesn't work like that. Like we saw from today's game.
To build a proper team, just want to go out and build a proper team. How long is that going to take? 5 years?
I think it will take 2 to 3 years because you have a good core.
Exactly, but you're not 10. But you don't want to do 2 to 3 years for two reasons. One, as I said earlier on, I don't know if you heard this. I felt like Todd Bowley as a Lupo the strongest points, and I also think that what they're trying to do is just accumulate as much talent as possible to sell them for profit in the future. And I don't know if that's not necessarily a strategy to trying to win, but if you're trying to run a business, you have to take that approach, which is what Chelsea is trying to do.
Okay, so you're a business, you don't care about titles. I mean, ultimately, it's fine. I think we're trying to be too cute to think there's some master strategy and Potter and all the football directors were all aligned on all these signings. That ain't right.
But there is a strategy, though. I mean, when you're a size lord, you make it happen.
Okay, now we go. Kudos and donkey of the week.
Bye, guys.
I gotta run, y'all. Have a good one. Cheers.
Kudos and donkey of the week. Oh, that has run away. Look at this boy. Look at this guy just run away from nowhere. That has run away. Okay, Hansi Flick is currently Chelsea's radar. Rumor mill. Okay, let's run quickly. Raji.
Donkey of the week for me is Casemiro. I think that he just came back from a red card and ended up putting his hands around somebody's neck.
Suspension, you mean, not red card?
Yeah, I mean a suspension. And I think that the fact that he got himself on camera, not realizing that there's VAR, and getting another red card, and he's going to miss the finals.
He's not. Funny
he's going to miss the finals.
No, he won't. He will miss 3. You know, we have midweek game. That's why
he'll miss two games against Leeds and 1 game against Leicester City.
Not miss the finals. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't joke with that one. Casemiro is going to play. Don't joke with that one.
Don't worry.
It's good. It's good. We'll see him there. But I still think he's the donkey of the week this week.
Okay. Kwame.
Oh, Pep. Pep is donkey of the week. I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with that man. I think he has gotten into this overthinking rabbit hole where he goes to occasionally. Why Ruben Diaz and Laporte are not seeing game time? They're not injured. They're fine. For some reason, he prefers Akanji and Ake. I don't know why. I hear the Rico Lewis argument. I think Rico Lewis is a young, talented player, and he offers everything you can expect from a young fullback. But benching Laporte, benching Ruben Diaz, benching De Bruyne has been costing them a lot. And because of Pep, Arsenal will win the league because of Pep.
I don't disagree with that part of like, yeah, because of Pep. That last part, they win the league. And it's annoying to me. My donkey of the week. I typically never like talk about referees, and because I always
Oh,
everybody knows me, I always say, those decisions even out over the season. But for me, Andre Marina,
yes.
VAR, and refs as a whole, and this is why I'm saying this. I feel like the refs, and again, I don't believe in conspiracy theory. There's no conspiracy against Manchester United. Let me make that clear. I don't believe in that. There's no conspiracy. But I do think that due to the fact that we had that call against City that was objectively the right call, but because it was a call that I think, and there was never a situation that's had to make them make that call in the recent times. Even though that Arsenal scored with that goal, I remember FA Cup a couple of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
Sanchez against
Alexis
Chelsea.
Sanchez. Yep.
Yeah. So, but because that has not happened in a while, BBC match of the day, or they make a meal out of it, right? Everybody was focusing on the Grays show and the Gray, and they kept focusing on it all over Europe. They had multiple sessions about it. Gary Neville and Carragher, and I think that kind of has got into some of the refs head where when they are refereeing Manchester United, they're like, oh, like they don't want to be the center of the show because it's been ridiculous since that game. We've had multiple shouts of penalty in the last game against Forest. We literally kicked Ghost in the box, and referee said, "I'm like, what?
Nothing.
This is like even replay showed it." So there's this weirdness going on with Manchester United that's pissing me off, like seriously. Because that Casemiro thing, yes, I know objectively you can't put two hands, but when you look. The videos have come out. You look at the way it wasn't a violent conduct, and I hope they appeal. I mean, they don't want to.
They should. I think they should increase the amount of days that he is missing.
I don't think they should. I don't think they should appeal because again, just like Raji said, it'll just mean that his suspension is extended. I think. I mean, Andre Marina is a dickhead. Andrew Marina, VAR, all of them, they're dickheads. Now, I hear that you can't put a player, I mean, your hands on somebody's neck. I hear that. The reason I'm saying Andrew Marina is also a donkey is because if you send off Casemiro for that, you should send off Jeffrey Schlupp. You should send off Jordan Ayew. But for some reason, it goes back to the consistency argument. And you're right, they've been trying to overcompensate ever since we got that Rashford decision and with the Bruno Fernandes goal. So, yeah, all of them are donkeys.
I do want to say that Ibrahimovic, his view on Pep is kind of reflective of what Oga Kwame talked about. The fact that Ibrahimovic has no love for Pep, no matter what, means that Pep has always had a history of ruffling some of his best players. And if this is happening at Manchester City right now, then we know that this is just a historical context there's a historical context to some of these decisions he's making.
Okay, my kudos quickly is Sean Dyche coming in, first game in against a team that has not lost since September. That's not lost in September, right? In the league. They've not lost in September or October. I don't remember. September is when we beat them. They've not lost in September.
Yeah.
And they outplayed Arsenal. This is not one of those lucky. They outplayed Arsenal. More expected goals, more chances, more shots on target. They were the better team.
That first half, they could have scored at least 2 goals in that first half.
Yeah, and that flat black three he used kind of stifled Arsenal. So yeah, he gets my kudos. Just first game, they look way more organized than they ever were under Lampard. So he gets my kudos.
So my kudos will go to Harry Kane. 200 goals for Tottenham, and is now written his book as one of the best offensive players for Tottenham. And he deserves it, irrespective of anything. He's having a bumper season. Every single season you think that Harry Kane is going to go down, he continues to improve. And we're looking forward to having him next season in Newcastle.
Okay.
I'm joking.
Congratulations to them. They should go and win the league. Oh, sorry, Arsenal. Let's talk about Everton. I know it's
it depends.
Kudos. Okay, comment to end the show.
I'll just go with Harry Kane as well. I mean, becoming Tottenham's all-time goal, I think best goal scorer. That's the only thing that will ever win at Tottenham anyway, but still kudos to him.
Okay, we've come to the end of the show. If you're watching, like, share, subscribe. Footy Fantasy is at the end. Thanks for all the comments in the comment section, all the live calls. Toby, Idris, who was the last person that called?
Sam.
And Sam. Thanks for coming, Raji. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time.
And I do appreciate it, and I really enjoyed talking to Oga Kwame and Ayo and everybody on the even if I joke sometimes, I think it's been an interesting season, and I always look forward to being on here.
Thank you for always coming. Okay, Kwame.
Raju, the feeling is mutual, bro. You know, it's still all love, but yeah, I'm happy to be here.
All right, everyone, we are out.
Peace.
Peace.